What's up, Wolfpack fans? Welcome back to the Red and White Podcast. This is episode 7. Looking at a VT preview going in as road favorites now. How about that?
Road favorites.
That's terrible.
That's the worst possible favorite to be. I hate it when teams are home dogs. That sets up bad for the favorite.
You know, I don't even like being a favorite at home, honestly.
That's true. I want to be an underdog every week.
Every time we're a favorite, aside from the cupcakes, it's a disaster. I mean, just bad. So
that was weird. That line opened up. I think Virginia Tech was a favorite, and then it's moved to even, or I think we're favored by 1.5 now.
Yeah, I think it was VT -2 to start. So you figure we had a shot at winning if you go by the rule of 3. But I was really surprised to see it move. I don't know why it moved, really.
Maybe because everybody realized that the Virginia Tech fanfare early in the season was a fraud.
Yeah, I was scared after the first game. They gave Ohio State a good game, really all they could handle. But since then, a lot of teams have shown that they can give Ohio State all they can handle. So. Northern Illinois, for instance.
Yeah. I wasn't scared. I remember that conversation we had after that game, and I was not impressed with Virginia Tech, and you thought I was crazy. I should probably go back and find that text message while we're talking.
I thought. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I thought Ohio State was good, but just watching that game, Virginia Tech's defensive line, supposed to be their defense, and overall is supposed to be ridiculous, and I think they're good, but. And Ohio State just shredded them. And granted, it's the national champs, so that was a little bit of, I don't know. You take that for what it is, but I wasn't impressed, and I hadn't been impressed with them all year, to be honest.
The first half of that game, Virginia Tech looked really good. It was close. Was it tied or something close to that going into halftime? And then Brewer goes down. And their defense really started getting shredded in the second half. And I'm wondering if that's just because, and leading into every game they've had since, is the defense on the field so much that they're just getting tired.
Yeah, it might be. I don't know. Like I guess part of it might have been a confidence thing with Brewer, and then the rest of the team when they had no faith in their backup or whatnot, but. He wasn't doing anything crazy. He was, but he also wasn't doing anything dumb, which is what you go for.
Yeah.
I think we're probably better off facing him, a guy who we know is not going to run, versus a running quarterback, as you saw, was not too great. When Louisville's quarterback couldn't throw and all they could do was run.
With the quarterbacks we have, decent legs, shouldn't they play against that in practice enough to, be able to handle that just a tad in the game?
Well, that's the thing. People give Jacoby and even Jalen, for all intents and purposes, a lot of credit for being, mobile. And they can move, but they're not going to, beat you in a sprint anywhere. I mean, they're not super quick guys like Lamar Jackson was for Louisville. I mean, that's a true 4.4 guy. He was fast.
They're just smart runners.
They're just elusive, I guess is what it was. And people used to say about Russell Wilson, and then our episode with James Washington, and he said, "No, man, Russell is fast." People just said, "Oh, he was not fast. He's elusive," and he said quite the opposite. He said Russell could run, man. He could outrun a lot of people.
Yeah, but not him. So
yeah, yeah, that's right, but not him. Yeah, and I think that's kind of the case with Jacoby and Jalen. Probably is that. They're not going to outrun anybody. They might just make you miss once, but they're not going to beat you 50 yards down the field. I don't think that's going to happen. That's why I don't think we have that dimension that people are expecting.
You think Jalen's a better runner than Jacoby?
I mean, from the little we've seen him play, I'm going to say yes. He looked a little quicker, maybe a little less stiff.
But can he pull off the play against Florida State? Can anyone else pull off the play against Florida State? Can Jacoby pull that off again?
Yeah, I think Jacoby's just, he's big and hard to bring down. I think that was part of that. And I wouldn't expect anybody ever to do that again.
There was a whole lot of clutch in that.
So. Yeah, there's a lot of will.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even though the guy he was throwing to wasn't the one who actually caught that ball. It was pretty funny.
That doesn't matter.
Somebody caught it. That's all.
It goes in the books as a completion. So
it's a touchdown.
All right, back on topic off of our little rant there.
Yeah.
But I think I'm of the opinion that Virginia Tech's D-line is probably going to be the best we've seen this week, but I think you might disagree.
Well, I think their D-line's good. I just don't think they're all that everybody's giving them credit for. They're probably the best. I don't know. I was impressed with Rankins from Louisville, man. He looked really good.
Yeah.
You know, granted, we'll have Alex Barr back at left guard, so maybe that'll help our offensive line.
I think it's got to.
Yeah.
A senior versus he's a redshirt senior, isn't he? Or just
senior?
He's
definitely redshirt senior.
So redshirt senior against redshirt freshman from last week.
Right.
I mean, that's huge. It really is, especially on the road. So
I don't know if Virginia Tech's defense is going to be as fast as Louisville's, and I just mean that laterally because I think Louisville is a little bit quicker than Virginia Tech has shown. Virginia Tech plays that bear front, which is in our notes you're asking about, which basically like a 4-6 defense. It means they line up everybody up front, and they come at you with whatever they have. So it's not a blitz per se, but they're going to line up an extra guy. And technically, it is bringing a blitz because they're lining up one extra over top of us.
Yeah, they've been schematically sound for years.
Yeah, so they've been playing that defense, and if you can pull it off, like the Arizona Desert Swarm defense from back in the day, and then the '85 Bears were a bear defense. That's where the name comes from. If you can pull it off, it's really tough for anybody to beat. Now. Does Virginia Tech have the speed to run with us if we start running jet sweeps with Jalen and Naheem? I don't know. I think that's where we're going to have to expose them, as opposed to the Louisville was playing a 3-4, and their linebackers were just as fast, so they could chase us horizontally. And that's what I said last week. Is I think it was a big downfall is that we try to play horizontally against Louisville when you need to spread them, stretch them deeper. I don't know if Virginia Tech has that speed. We might be able to get around them a little bit better than we were against Louisville.
So they're coming to us with that bear front, as they call it. That's going to lead to pressure on Jacoby, right?
Yeah, so that's going to lead to a lot of quick passes.
So we're looking at dump offs to the backs.
Right, and that's my worst nightmare there. And I'm going a little bit of a rant here. But every time somebody brings up why can't we recruit a wide receiver, it's always our offense doesn't fit. Our offense doesn't fit, right? Or that's what people are telling. They're saying our offense is too much running back heavy, and it is running back heavy. But part of that is because I think Jacoby really struggles looking downfield. And if we had somebody who could complete that over 10 to 20 yard pass in that range, I think that changes the dynamic of our offense and that changes people's perspective. Right now we're running back heavy because we have to be, right? And that's what he relies on. But I think the offense is not designed to be that running back heavy, if that makes any sense.
So why don't we just put Naheem in the slot constantly and have him run mid routes, mid curls, something like that? So there should always be someone downfield for 10, 15 yards.
Yeah,
why isn't it working?
Because he's not throwing it. He's not looking. He's immediately checking down. The play in the Louisville game where everybody talks about, and I think we brought up, where they threw a dump off to Jalen and he ran 30 yards, whatever. It was a successful play, but people also noticed that Trowell was wide open down the field. He had burned his man. He was just screaming down the sideline or down the middle. But also on that play, David Greenwich had posted up right in the middle. It was a 15-yard game, wide open. And he does that. They run that tight end curl all the time, but he doesn't throw it to him for whatever reason. So I'm hoping that's what they're, and I'm sure they are working on it because I'm not the only one that sees that. So I don't know. I think they are running that, and they probably will run it more with Naheem. But now they just got to get him the ball. They got to get it out of Jacoby's head that he's got to dump down.
Yeah, it's kind of not an option. Like the season really lies on it. Like it's got to happen. We're not going to win a lot of games without somewhat of a downfield passing game. I mean, that's just fact. I love our backs, blah blah, but there's got to be a second dimension, and we haven't shown it yet. So
Yeah, I agree, and it's very concerning for me. We said it last year too. Jacoby's got to hit the deep ball, and I'm not even talking about the deep ball now. Now we're talking about 10 to 20 yards, that range. A good mid-sized first down route.
see, I feel like that was there last year. It was just the deep, and now it's regressed.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was consistent that way last year.
It was better. It might have been consistent, but I don't know. I'm more worried about the passing game this year than I was last.
I do remember a lot of slant routes to Bo Hines last year, so we hadn't run anything like that this year.
Yeah, why can't Naheem pull that off?
I think he can.
We're just ignoring it, you know?
Yeah. Naheem was open a lot in that last game. Those two deep balls that at least he threw them, but even though he didn't complete them. I mean, Naheem showed some speed on those plays, man. He had toasted his guys twice. The same play. It was the same route. Same little wheel route from the slot.
I'm not too upset about the loss last week.
Mm-hmm.
I know that means no playoff, which, I'm having trouble accepting. But other than that, if they can take the tape from that and really break it down and see what they're going to have to do against competent competition, then it was a okay loss. Not okay in the fact that you lost, but you can do something with it.
Right.
It depends on if they actually take it and change the game plan and realize we're not going to play South Alabama's every week.
Yeah, I think that's part of what we saw last year, right? They realized, all right, we got to stop the Syracuse game. Like, we got to stop playing tight. We got to blitz a little bit more. We got to open it up a little bit more. And hopefully they find that out earlier. I mean, I thought they were going to do that with Louisville. You learn your lesson, chalk that one up to a relatively newish coaching staff or whatever, but there's no excuse for that now. If they play conservative this week, I'd be disappointed.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes back to what we were bitching about earlier this week. You get some yards on first down, then you can take shots on second down.
Right.
And
I think it's there to be had. If you look at the ECU Virginia Tech box score, I consider ECU has a pretty good offense. But their backup quarterback, a one-time state commit, ran for 169 yards. I mean, they gave up 400 plus yards to ECU. Virginia Tech did. So their defense might be good, but there's some plays to be had on them. And I don't think Summers. He's not an exceptional thrower. He was just, running the read option, and then the long play he had was just right at the middle. They just couldn't tackle him. That's kind of, you don't expect that from a all ACC defensive line. I think for the most part, every one of those guys was on the all ACC depth chart.
See, the only thing that worries me looking from the ECU game is, okay, they had 182 yards rushing, but 169 of that was from the quarterback.
Right, and that was after they brought in Summers over the other guy's name, Kemp, I think.
Yeah, so normal backs taking the ball and trying to run, they had 20 carries for 17 yards.
Yeah, part of that is probably ECU doesn't really run their running backs too much, and their running backs, they kicked off all their good running backs. To be honest. Yeah, I don't know if that's on the running backs or was it just an exceptional performance from the quarterback.
I mean, it's just something doesn't add up because they had 20 carries for negative. Right. I mean, a negative average. Well, not negative, but under a yard a carry. And so it's I didn't see the game, but it seems like the quarterback just found gashes kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not saying Matt Days is going to run for 100 and whatever yards, but he's also not. I don't think they're going to stuff him for nothing like they did for the ECU running backs.
I just as long as he gets 100 this week, then.
Yeah.
And also, going back to something I said preseason, that any game we averaged 4 yards a carry, we would win. That's still true. We didn't average 4 yards a carry against Louisville, and that was a loss.
What was that number, do you know?
Okay, so after doing some math here, without Jacoby's stats on the ground, Days and Gillespie, we averaged 3.55 yards per carry, which is close to 4, not awful. But here's where you're going to get sick to your stomach. If you include Jacoby's numbers, which also includes sacks, we averaged 0.66 yards per carry. So that's not a winning formula.
No, especially when you don't have the ball that often.
Yeah.
Louisville had the ball most of that game.
So
yeah, that's a bad combination there.
Yeah, that Jacoby counted him at 10 carries for negative 26 yards. Days was 19 for 68. What's that?
How many sacks did we give up? 3 or 4?
Somewhere around there. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so you count those in, but there was also some just terrible run plays they ran, quarterback draws and stuff like that. And we already talked about the 5 wide run Jacoby at the middle play, which is ridiculous. So there was some bad in there, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I think Alex Barr coming back definitely helps that. So, I think we'll be better there.
Yeah. If not, that's not going to win the game. There again,
right.
I have to stick by that 4-game rule. So, we'll see if that happens this week. But the thing is, even if we can't do that, Louisville's offense is miles ahead of. Well, yeah. Louisville's offense is miles ahead of Virginia Tech, so.
And that's saying something because Louisville couldn't throw the ball; they could do was run.
No, but that's where Virginia Tech is right now. So.
Yeah. I agree with you there. I think Virginia Tech offense is terrible. They have Bucky Hodges. This is a big ass tight end who's he's tight end wide receiver. But other than that, I just don't expect much from their offense. Our defense shows, that they can play, especially guys up front. We can get the pressure up front. And, Burris had a good game last week. Hopefully he keeps that up. And Mike Stevens has I think he's been out of this world. I don't think he's given up his spot. Tocho's he's going to have to fight to get back on the field, I think, because Mike Stevens has played excellent. So
I'm just not impressed with Tocho, man.
Yeah. I wasn't impressed with Burris. He played pretty well against Louisville. I'll give him that. He had a bunch of breakups and I thought he was on top of things.
Yeah.
I think our defense should fare pretty well against their offense, considering their offense is that bad. If Brewer's in, I think that makes them a little more one-dimensional, which is okay. I'm actually more worried about Motley with his running ability. I think both teams with a real running threat quarterback that we've played this year, we've given up big plays. You saw Louisville Lamar Jackson take one to the house, and who was it? It was either South Alabama. It must have been Troy. Troy's quarterback, I think, had a nice long run on us too. In the season opener, I think it was same sort of read option play, same right side. Same thing happened. All the guys crashed down, and he just took it around the corner and took it to the house. So I'd be more concerned about Motley's running ability.
If you had to pick a player who steps up and plays a little better than they are Friday, who's it going to be?
That's a tough one. Jalen Samuelson's been playing really well, so it's hard to say. He steps up. Maybe they get him more touches since he didn't touch the ball at all last fourth quarter in the Louisville game. I think we'll see Naheem get a little bit more involved in the offense. I'd like to see him actually catch one of those deep balls, or connect, I should say, with Jacoby on the deep ball. He hadn't had a chance to really catch him. Ramos will probably have a good game. I think one of these games, Maurice Trowell is going to break out just because he's been open. He's been running good routes. If he gets on the field and he can connect, so I guess that comes back to if Jacoby throws the ball downfield, look for like Alston or Trowell to have a good game. I can see one of those guys playing well on the offensive side.
I think I'm going to go Ramos.
Yeah, Ramos is he's the easy one because I think he's been playing well the whole time. The fumble in the Louisville game, and I forgot to mention it, but it's one of those plays where I think it hit off his knee when he was trying to drag the guy. So if he drags the guy in the end zone, everybody's gonna be like, "Oh my God, what an amazing play!" Yeah. Instead, he fumbles and like, "Oh, he's the GOAT." So I don't hate him for that. It's an extra effort play. You just got to hold on to it.
Yeah.
But he's been playing pretty well. He's been catching everything thrown at him. So I'd like to see him have a breakout game or like a 100-yard game. That'd be nice to see.
Definitely. He gets a deep ball first quarter on the road and takes it in. Game's over.
Yeah.
So
it's looking like it's going to rain though.
Yeah, of course it is. It rains for every state game.
Right.
So.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, and I meant to mention after the Louisville game, and we had talked about it, but Justin Jones had a huge game. He was everywhere. And by some far-off chance that he listens to this podcast, Justin Jones, you played awesome. I'm sorry I didn't mention it in the Louisville game.
Yeah, we talked about you at the game. We just forgot for the podcast. So
we both, after we stopped recording, were like, oh, damn, we forgot to mention it. But, yeah, he played really well, and I love seeing him. He's just living in the backfield. Him and Kentavious are going back and forth there. I think that's a great competition to see. Those guys are really going at it. I like to see him he'll have a big game. To be honest, want to see Fernandez or Moore be a little bit more disciplined, stopping that read option run. They keep crashing down. So I'd like to see one of those guys have a 8 to 10 tackle game and not rely so much on Justin Jones making the safety tackles. When your safeties are making 10 plus tackles a game, something's not happening right up front. We saw that with Earl Wolf. He would have 15 plus tackles a game because nobody in front of him would make a tackle.
Well, I think if we get the defensive performance, mistakes included, that we had last week, I think we can get out with a win. So,
yeah, I agree. I think our defense played well enough. We should have won that game, and that if they play the same, we can win this game too.
Yeah, if Pitt can win there, anybody can.
Pitt, man, was my preseason Coastal champion.
How's that worked out so far?
Well, they lost Connor, so I get a pass there.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were going to lose a running back in the first game.
Carolina's the favorite for the Coastal now, right? Everybody's in love with them.
That's the frustrating part about the jacked up divisions, is that now they're going to be the Sleeping Giants back.
Yeah. That's all. David Hale was just having a love affair earlier this week, fussing about how he couldn't understand why they had gotten no top 25 votes. I'm like, well.
Right. The one thing that I was impressed, I'll give credit where credit's due. Carolina's stat, and I think David Hale put it out, that Carolina's gotten a first down on 87% of their drives. That's absurd. Yeah, that's a big number there.
But there again, who have they played? So
yeah.
The Georgia Tech game, though, what are you gonna do? Georgia Tech is just died. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, they didn't really lose anybody. I thought they were going to be just as good as they were last year.
No, before the Notre Dame game, I was like, man, I could see them in the playoff,
Yeah, me too. It's the same thing. Notre Dame whipped them.
Yeah, and that just took everything out of them. I don't know.
Yeah. So, I was thinking the same thing. And then Carolina hasn't won in Atlanta in 20-plus years, and they go down there and score 14 in the last 5 minutes or something like that to win. You're like, come on now.
Yeah. Does Clemson cover easily there, or does Georgia Tech actually give them a game?
See, that's a weird one. Georgia Tech always plays Clemson tight, but I think Georgia Tech's a mess this year. Although, at the flip side of that, I can see, letdown game after Clemson beats Notre Dame, have a big, get all emotional win, and then playing Georgia Tech, and I don't know. I think Clemson wins that game. I think they cover. I think, what's the spread? 6?
I think somewhere around there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Clemson wins that one.
I think they win, but I think Georgia Tech decides to actually, nut up this week.
It's tough, man. We got to pull for Georgia Tech, because we want Clemson to have a loss, so we still want to have a chance. But at the same time, I'd rather Clemson get the national limelight than Florida State from the Atlantic.
Yeah.
If we're not going to get it, I want somebody else to get it.
If Georgia Tech tanks the rest of the year, is Paul Johnson on the hot seat, considering what they were supposed to be?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
They're happy with mediocrity like we are?
I think they're going to be upset that they took a step back when they weren't supposed to. But I think what he's done there has been pretty, I think it's been pretty well received. it's the right fit. I feel like it's the right fit for them.
It's a good offense for Russell Athletic School. So,
God, just imagine if NC State went Russell Athletic.
Ooh, I'd rather rock some Fila, but anyway, this was the VT preview. I think it's a win. You're on board too, right?
I know. Before the year, this was the game that I said I thought we were going to lose just because it was Friday night. I didn't think they were better than us. But now that I'm feeling a little more confident, that's usually a bad sign for us. But I'm going with the win. I think we play better on the road than we have been at home. I think they get they circle the wagons, and I think they get back on track. I think we win.
Yeah. All right. Well, you got anything else?
Yeah. So if we win, when we win, what's Frank Beamer's status in Hokieville?
He's there till he wants to leave.
You think?
Yeah. I mean, he's going to choose to leave soon, which is why I say that. I can't see him forcing him out.
I think, yeah. I mean, I guess he's got the golden ticket up there. He's basically created Virginia Tech football, but I feel like he's just hanging on too long. We were supposed to have our man Hokie Smash on here, but he's too busy with our mortal enemies, another podcast.
Well, I'll take sort of the blame because he could have been on last night, but it was like 10:15, and honestly, I was asleep by 10:30. So that's a true story. I was in bed asleep by 10:30. So
no, we're just gonna give him a hard time.
Yeah.
But he's all about Frank Beamer's got as much time as he wants, and I guess I get that. But at some point, I think that athletic director's got to sit down with him and say, "Hey, listen, Frank, things aren't going so well here. Virginia Tech's been bad. They haven't been good for a few years now." And Hokie Smash, he said, his quote was, "Well, who does Virginia Tech have on offense, right? Who do they have that's going to control the game?" Well, my question is, who's responsible for that? Who's supposed to be recruiting those positions?
Yeah.
I don't know. If I'm a Virginia Tech fan, I'm frustrated because he's hanging on too long. And whether it's Bud Foster or the next guy, I think they're going to start at some point. If this keeps going the way it's going, they're going to get frustrated. You're going to hear grumbling at the end of the year.
So if he leaves, who's the coach there?
Bud Foster. I mean, you got to think that's what they're hoarding him, and he's turned down, so to speak, every job that he's either interviewed for or been talked about with. You got to think that Virginia Tech's got some sort of head coach in waiting agreement there.
See, I think he'll get the job, but I don't think he's going to do much better.
I don't think so either. He's probably already doing the job, if I had to take a guess.
Yeah. He can't. What's he going to do to recruit offensive players?
Yeah.
I mean, he would have to have a star OC to attract the talent because everybody's going to look at him. Well, if you want to play defense, go play for Bud Foster. But,
yeah, and that's the thing. I agree with you. I think he's if I like hiring a guy who's been a head coach before, and there's a reason he hasn't taken these jobs. There's also a reason he hasn't really gotten the big offer. He hasn't gotten the Chad Morris offer or the, any of the other assistants who have become head coaches. It's been a long time, and you'd think if athletic directors really thought he was going to be a great head coach, somebody would have thrown a lot of money at him and made him irresistible.
Yeah.
But maybe he's just tied to Beamer and tied to the area, just wants to be at Virginia Tech, which, I can respect that. I agree with you. I don't think he's going to be the answer.
No. So move him to the Atlantic.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Move him to the Atlantic. We'll swap them in Florida State.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So,
but that's all I got.
All right. Well, we'll get back to you next week with our big guests at some point. So,
can't wait for that one. Yeah. That's gonna be great.
Do we even give him a hint?
He's a current NFL player. How about that?
That's
current.
Narrows it down a little bit. So
yeah, it does narrow it down.
And he didn't go to Wisconsin. So, all right. Well, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, go Pack.
Take it easy. Go Pack.